Good evening. Now, as the 2021 general elections draw nearer with each passing day, politicians and political parties keep positioning themselves like suitors of an elusive maiden to convince the Zambian electorate to choose them over others. My guest this evening says his party manifesto is about creating jobs for many of our people who cannot find work and earn a living. The trained teacher, a nurse, clinical officer, agriculture extension officer who cannot be employed. It is about addressing the problems of the retiree who is not being paid their retirement benefit for years, while leaders are paying themselves midterm gratuities and are getting their benefits before even their terms of office come to an end. My guest says he understands why so many people today think all politicians are liars, that they are all the same. They promise heaven, but they can't even deliver purgatory. They are there just to enrich themselves. However, he says his party is different. He says his party is made up of humble people, but can they be believed and trusted with your vote come 2021? Must they be given a chance to deliver the revolutionary change that, in Zambia rather, that they promise? My guest, Socialist Party President Dr. Fred Membe. Sir, it's a pleasure to host you, Doc, and welcome to Diamond TV. It's a pleasure to host you.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
We're live on Facebook, it's Diamond TV Zambia. Remember, also on the Mingletainment app, as well as on DSTV 27199 on GoTV and 110 on Topstar. Keep those SMSs as well as feedback rolling. Before we get into this manifesto, Justice, Equity and Peace, that you launched last week, allow me just to quickly get back into memory lane. Obviously, your name will forever be in the echelons of our history with the work that you did influentially with the Post newspapers. I know that the matter is still in the Court of Appeals, but what comes to mind? How do you feel as Fred Membe running the Post newspaper for decades when you pass on Bwinjimfumu Road and you see the empire that you built razed to rubble?
For revolutionary setbacks are there in life all the time. That was a setback. I cannot talk about it much because the matter is still in the Court of Appeal. So I'll be cited for contempt, and I don't want to do that. I'm a lawyer. Well, it's sad, but the sad part of it, is not necessarily me, but the many people who benefited from the Post who were suffering. And also, it was delivering a service to the society.
When you started, you say, when I read through the history, that really it was not about you alone starting the Post newspaper. Was the Post a business or a political machinery to bring change from one party state to achieving multi-party democracy?
It was a political project, and it died politically. But to survive, it had to be commercial viable, because there was nobody who was going to fund every edition of the Post. So we had to make it viable, but it was a political project. It was not a business per se. But we had to adopt a business approach to survive.
What would you say are your lessons from operating a political project, like the Post, vis-a-vis relationships, with presidents and governments through the last decades? You have not had it easy as an organization, then the Post, personally, as Fred Membe, your life in danger, so many incarcerations. Do you regret having walked that path?
I have no regret. It's a price we have to pay for liberties. A better society does not just come like that. People have to pay the price. Starting, in 1897, our forefathers paid the price. Our Ngoni ancestors paid the highest price. They fought an army which was far much better equipped than them of Cecil Rhodes, who wanted to take their land. The Ngonis resisted. They said, over our dead bodies will Cecil Rhodes and his army take over our land. They fought with us a guy, pitted against Maxim guns, 70-pounders. The war lasted 2 months. The Ngoni capital was captured on the 4th of February, 1898. The following day at dawn in the morning, Nsingu, the commander of the Ngoni forces, was executed in front of his lieutenants for resisting, for trying to preserve the land we have today. And the sad part of it, they died to give us land. What have we done to the same land? To the same minerals they defended? We have given them to the same people who killed them, to the descendants of the same people who killed them. They are the ones who own the land. They are the ones who are mining. They paid the highest price. If you compare that to what we are going through, it's nothing. We are just continuing that struggle, and it has to continue.
What can you say about the feeling or the thinking by so many people out there that your newspaper, The Post, you call it a political project? You've described it that it died, political, death. He who lives by the sword obviously dies, by the sword. Your influence over, presidents and administration, some have coined a nickname for you, King Fred. Do you subscribe that in the past you've been an influential kingmaker of taking, men to State House?
I come from many royal families in this country, but I'm not a king. I come from the Bemba royal family, but I'm not Chitimku. So I'm not a king. I was simply doing a job. And every job that I do, I try to put in the best that I can. And I put in the best that I can. I could at that time.
So when people say you're a kingmaker, do you agree with that?
No, I'm not a kingmaker. The only people who can make kings are the masses themselves. No individual makes a king. The kingmakers are the masses. It's a mistake to think one person can make a king.
For over 2 decades, your editorial pieces came daily in the tabloid and angered so many. You lost friends, you won some. I just want you to quickly run us through the fact that are you a consistent person as we build towards coming to what you're promising the people of Zambia? The political project in 1991 ousted KK, came in Chiluba. The KK that this project was part of ousting, you have become one of his main backers and eulogized him heavily. Some also say that because of your writings, you sent Chiluba to his grave. At a certain point, you had differences with Michael Sata. Yet again, some, in fact, with Michael Sata and the PF. What would you say? Was the Post really playing a media role? Because some say you financed them in terms of giving them even resources for campaigning. And that's why I asked how much influence and how consistent were you either in advising or criticizing these administrations? Did you abuse your platform to criticize or to fight battles, personal battles?
Look, the Post had a mission statement. It is stated clearly in 4 points what it was there about. And we stuck to that. We had an editorial team. It was not what one person wanted to do. I had a life before the Post. I joined revolutionary struggles when I was 18 at the University of Zambia. I joined the African National Congress of South Africa. I joined the South African Communist Party when I was in first year. And I grew up in the African National Congress. I grew up in the South African Communist Party. I have been political all my life. When I was a student, I used to publish a newsletter called Banner, which was a socialist publication, until I graduated. I've always been a member of the South African Communist Party. Even today, I've not resigned from the South African Communist Party. I've just drifted to do some other things. So, the political aspect is what created the Post. The Post was a political project to bring about political changes in our country. And the commitment was to creating the democratic space that was needed at that time. I was not against Dr. Kaunda. I was against the one-party state. If you read our manifesto, we still stated clearly that the one-party state, save for rare moments in life, is a recipe for tyranny. We know from the Soviet experience, we also know from the African experience what a one-party state can do. By one party calling itself the vanguard of this or that, we know the tragedy of that. So we don't believe in a one-party state. And we had to work to dismantle the one-party state. I joined the movement for multi-party democracy. I was one of the founders of the MMD. I went to Garden on the 20th of July 1990 and 21st. Of course, the project was started by Dr. Akapshamba Staliwanika and Dr. Mbitachita. Those were the founders of the project. They were the initiators. They invited us. We joined them with many others. The Chulubas joined. In fact, Mr. Chuluba was not there even in the first day. He came on the second day. New State Zimba was there from the trade union the first day and the second day. So I participated in that project. The post was not there, or the weekly post was not there. That was July 1990. The post was launched, or the weekly post was launched on the 26th of July 1991, 3 months before the elections. It was not the post that brought down Dr. Kaunda, no. It's a mistake to think a newspaper can change a government. A newspaper cannot change a government. A radio station cannot change a government.
Some subscribe to those notions that
it's
your
only the
writings
masses of the people that can bring out the political changes. You communicate the ideas of the people.
The
You
media has no
translate.
propaganda role to play in swinging the vote.
No, the media, like anybody else who is a political participant, can set the agenda for public discourse and participate in that discourse, disseminate ideas. It's ideas that influence people. And the media's role is to disseminate ideas. But also the media can take the role of setting the agenda. The success of the post was because it was able to set the agenda.
So Chiluba joined you in that movement. The MMD takes over. Was your corruption crusade in terms of criticizing the second president a personal issue for you? Did you have a fallout with Chiluba?
Fallout about what? What did I have with Chiluba that I fell out of? From the very beginning, I fell out with corruption. To this very day, I've fallen out with corruption. Any decent human being who cares for society, look at the poverty levels in this country. You have got Western Province with 82.2% poverty level. You have Luapula with 81.1% poverty level. You have Northern Province with 79.7% poverty level. You have Eastern Province for all the hard work they do in that province. The hardest working province of our country is suffering from poverty levels of 70%. You have Muchinga Province with 69.3%. You have Northwestern Province with 66.4% poverty levels. You have Southern Province with 57.6%. You have Central Province with 56.2%. You have Copper Belt with 30.8%. And you have Lusaka with 20.2% poverty level. Those are very high poverty levels. You have the rural poverty level averaging 76.6%. And you can allow people to steal money. Do you know that if somebody steals public resources, what happens is people are dying in the hospitals for lack of drugs. Children are not going to school. So many things go wrong. It's not a small thing. It's not a small thing. It's not personal. Anybody who steals public resources, it doesn't matter whether it's Fred member or what. They should be subjected to the same treatment. And it doesn't matter what office you occupy. You can't be a president of a country and steal from your people. And you call yourself a leader.
Some felt, Dr. Member, that as you fought this crusade of corruption, you were too harsh. People like, Chiluba, the words like foolish, stupid you used in your editorials were disrespectful even to the presidency. Again, when Mwanawasa came in, was it an issue of the enemy of my enemies, my friend?
Mwanawasa, the enemy of who?
Cracking down on corruption.
If you recall, we fought battles with Levy. People make a mistake to think Levy just jumped on the crusade to fight against corruption just like that. No.
So he joined you?
It took time. He did not join me. He joined the struggle. It was not just me. I was not the only person, or the post was not the only institution fighting corruption in this country. There were many institutions, there were many individuals, many who were fighting corruption in this country. The post was just one element within that chain. The post on its own could have not fought the battles it fought. There were people even in government institutions who were fighting corruption underground. What the Post got, it got it from people who were within the system, who were not happy with the corruption. Even you as a media organization, you only get what the people give you. You are not everywhere. Those who do not want corruption in the government will feed you. So there were many people. The Post was just one element. On its own, the Post could have not done what it did. So if we were against corruption, we were not the only ones. If we were the only ones who could have not done much, you can't do much alone.
I'm happy that you're here, basically to answer to some of the things, obviously, that may be said, and you may not have time to have responded. What would be your reaction to those that feel that, first of all, you are a socialist, you believe in justice and equity, but some of your critics say that, like in the Mwanawasa administration, for example, I want you to explain just briefly on your involvement in things like the airline project. Some felt it was warming up with the administration, that you started gating favors with your partners to go a capitalist route of enriching yourselves. There are others who say again that for the support you gave the PF and Michael Sata, there was reward of transportation contracts into the mining towns on the Copperbelt and so on. What would be your reaction to that, Dr.
The Post never got a single favor from government. Never got a single favor under any regime. The Post made money from the readers and advertisers. The books are there. The Post never got any government contract whatsoever as a favor from anybody. I don't even know how a tender looks like. The Post never applied for any tender. There are people who have worked there. They will tell you, ask them. There was no secret money the Post got. I was not even the one doing business for the Post. I was an editor for most of the time. The Zambian Airways, the Post was making money. It was a profitable entity. Zambian Airways, the promoters of Zambian Airways, needed capital. They needed capital, and they were approaching many institutions, Zambian institutions, to invest in the airline, and the country needed an airline. They approached the Post to invest $3 million. The Post got $3 million and put it in there. Unfortunately for that project, immediately the Post put the $3 million, and the owners of National Building, actually, at that time, we put the money together. They put $2 million.
Seaboard?
Seaboard, yes. They put $2 million, we put $3 million. Immediately after that, the oil prices shot up globally. Many airlines were closing at that time. And Zambian Airways were not spared. It went into serious problems. The government was not supportive. The directors had to put the airline in receivership. It's still in receivership, Zambian Airways. And because of that, it had problems, meeting its obligations. The matter has been decided by the Supreme Court. So anyone who wants to question that can go to the Supreme Court.
The expansion into transportation through courier and so on, again, no linkage to any favors of getting.
No, we never got money from anybody. Go to the banks and see how we transacted. Does the government give you transport contracts? Does the government give you transport contracts? Yes, there's no business you can get from the government. We never got any government business. How we got into the transport business was really to expand and cushion off our income streams. We were transporting newsprint from South Africa. We were getting newsprint from Durban. We were paying through the nose transport costs. The consumption was huge. 3 truckloads or 4 truckloads a week. We decided, let's buy 2 trucks to go and be taking newsprint from South Africa to here. We realized that the trucks were going empty, coming back with newsprint. So we said, why don't we find something to carry to South Africa and then bring? Then we saw that business was high. We needed more trucks. We started getting more trucks, and the business started to develop. It was in its infancy, actually. It hadn't matured as a business, a transport business. It was still dependent on the newspaper.
Your hard line of writing, obviously again through your editorial pieces, gave you the opportunity to, I think, talk maybe in inverted commas, on a first-name basis with his presidents and so on. There's also this notion, and that's why I'm saying the fact that you're here tonight gives me pleasure to ask so that you can clear some of these matters. That you controlled, quote unquote, some of these presidents. How much influence did you have on President Michael Sata during his 3-year term?
Nothing. I've known Michael Sata since 1982. I became much closer to him about 86, 87, when he was running Avondale Housing. I was financial accountant at Zambia State Insurance. And Avondale Housing was making losses as a housing project which was 100% owned by Zambia State Insurance. It was making losses. Dr. Mwene Mwinga, when he became managing director, he instituted an investigation. He appointed me, appointed the late Poet Banda, the late John Nyemba, to look into Avondale Housing, why it was making losses. The other two, one died, the other one was transferred to Ndola, so I remained probing that issue. So I spent a lot of time with Mr. Sata going house by house in Avondale, why it was making losses. So we spent hours together, and I came to know him much closer.
And later on in the political, years, like...
Yeah, we worked together again in the MMD. When he came from UNIP, he found us in the MMD, we worked together.
What influence, again, like I'm saying, on the PF, side? True that you supported them resource-wise? Why did you feel that was part of a campaign that you should back?
Look, the money I got in my life, almost all of it went to social projects. It was not only Michael Sata. The little I had when the MMD was formed, I used it for the MMD. There are many projects that I've supported here, not only political projects. Why political projects? Political projects also need to be funded by citizens. If these political parties, we don't fund them, who do you think should fund them? Anglo-American Corporation? The foreigners who own the mines should fund our political parties? You, the citizens of this country, needed to fund these political parties. When we formed the MMD, we were funding it in our small ways. Every political project needs to be funded by its own people. So political parties are just like any other organization that are necessary to society.
Very quickly, as we come to the gist of our discussion in the manifesto, having set that historical background, when you look, I want to take your experience and your wealth. For many of us who are in this media business, we look at you as a legend for our time. What would be your advice, both to the country and media? People say the space, is shrinking. How do we operate and interact with political parties and the political, machinery? Again, giving an example of the Post, from what we know is that with your agenda, if the political party or that source did not fit, then they would not feature.
Look, the political environment you're operating under is much more difficult than that which the Post operated under. I don't know how I'd fare under the conditions you're operating in. Yes, I went to prison a number of times. I was arrested a number of times. But the environment was still much better. It was still far much better and much easier than the environment you are in. Today, they don't want you. They'll just close you. They will not arrest you and take you to prison. They will just close your station. They will just close your newspaper. It's finished. It was difficult to close the newspaper. We had many institutions that were still operating in society that could stop that. And there was restraint. Those who exercised power had restraint. There was a limit to what Dr. Kaunda could do. There was a limit to what Mr. Chiluba could do. There was a limit to what Mr. Mwanawasa could do. There was a limit to what Mr. Banda could do. And there was a limit to what Mr. Sata could do. There appears to be no limit to what the current leaders of our country today can do.
What has happened to President Lungu, you think? I mean, again, in your time, these were your faults. I mean, President Lungu, as a lawyer, defended the poster yourself quite a couple of times. There's one interesting picture that circulates on social media in Kabwata, at the Kabwata police station, of you and President Lungu. Again, what has happened?
President Lungu never defended the post, never defended me. He was a friend. He used to come when I'm arrested. He was there, but he was never...
So you admit you were friends?
Yeah, we got on very well.
Are you still friends?
I haven't seen President Lungu since he became president. I have not met him. So I don't have a relationship with him that is close.
Do you feel your friend has changed?
I don't know, but I don't see him. He's president, of course, his status has changed. He's not the Lungu, the lawyer you knew. He's President Lungu now. So his status has changed. And his friends have changed.
So back to my question, I was asking the advice, and you were just giving me background on how the space has become more difficult. So how should we then be approaching this going forward?
I don't have a blueprint for that. You understand the environment much better. The only thing I can encourage you is keep on struggling. Adapt to the conditions that you are in. Devise the right approaches to the struggle. I can't prescribe the forms of struggle because I'm not involved in it.
Let's quickly get into understanding socialism and the manifesto. Obviously, after the one-party state, people have transitioned from the MMD into the PF. Obviously, capitalist under the MMD, but all throughout democracy. Make us understand, what is the kind of socialism that you believe in, and how would you sell, this manifesto? Because when others look at issues of probably socialism under people like Che Guevara or Fidel Castro, they align things like, humanism or communism under the one-party state. How do you differentiate what you believe?
Look, socialism is not about bombastic words. It's not about complicated phrases. It's very simple. Socialism is about the socialization of education, socialization of health services, socialization of access to food, nutrition, socialization about access to housing, socialization about access to good sanitation, and all the other services required in an organized society. Making education free and socializing its management will enable every citizen of this country to go to school. Today, there are so many brilliant young people who can't finish school. They are passing. A kid passes grade 9 but can't go to grade 10 because the parents can't pay. A kid finishes grade 12 with very good results. Can't go to college, can't go to university simply because the parents have no money. If you are born in a poor family, that's it. You are done. You live poor. If you are born in Ikwa, your chances of finishing school are very low. And you die in Ikwa. You marry in Ikwa. You will not marry from Ku.
So, just with that point that you've touched, among the values that you espouse as a party, obviously equity. You stress that inequality has divided the country into the Kwa. Obviously, you're talking about things like Kwa George, Kwa Jackie, Kumayadi. So you describe this as two nations, of the poor and the well-to-do.
Yes.
What is your manifesto approach in dismantling this?
By bringing equity in access to it, in terms of access to education, in terms of access to health services, in terms of access to nutrition, in terms of access to housing, you break this. You break this barrier. You break these two nations and turn it into one nation. Because even the poorest child will be able to go to school. When they finish school, they will be able to get a job that fits their qualifications.
So what is the starting point as an equalizer to bring equity? Education?
Education. Look, in our days, when I went to school, I simply went to school without any money. I was given free uniform. I was given free books, free pencils. We did not go to school only to learn. We also went to school to be fed. Our leaders at that time did understand that a child needs to be fed to learn. You can't concentrate when you're hungry. They cared for us. For all their mistakes, for all their weaknesses, you cannot accuse them of not caring. The Kaundas cared. And you could feel we were proud kids. When you sang the national anthem, Stand and Sing of Zambia, proud and free. Indeed, you felt free and proud.
What type of education or academia would you be talking about? Because we've reached a point in a generation of probably the global economics where now people are more promoting entrepreneurship and the fact that, look, you don't need to get a university degree to be successful. And so people are teaching leadership, they're giving all this, motivation. What type of, education do you believe in as a socialist party?
Look, let me tell you, most of these business studies is a waste of time.
Why do you say so?
Those are the things I've done. Most of my studies, my doctorate is in business. My doctorate is in business. But turning technical colleges into business centers, business schools, you can't develop. We have abandoned, emphasis on sciences. We have abandoned even simple courses like mechanics. Today, even to find a mechanic coaster in this country today is a problem. To find even a plumber is a problem. You can't develop without technicians. Everybody is doing a business certificate course, a business diploma, a business degree, and so on. Nobody is doing sociology these days. Nobody is doing psychology. We need that. We need that. And what do you learn in business studies? A little bit of economics, a little bit of company law, a little bit of accountants, a little bit of management sciences. Where does it take a country? Can everybody be an entrepreneur in any country? If everybody is just is selling something.
But there are others also who feel that people who get too highly educated are very less, practical. Correct me if I'm wrong, but after former president of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe, if you had to become president, you'd be probably the most educated president on the African soil.
Am I not practical?
Well, I would like you to respond, because like you're saying, I think you've done quite a number of things. Master's degree in economic policy management, master's in taxation, doctorate in business administration, like you've rightly pointed out. You're still studying.
Yeah.
I'm made to believe. Why are you investing so much time into all?
We need knowledge. We need knowledge. Look, societies have been changed by ideas. The America you admire today, who created the Americans for you? They are the thinkers. The England you admire today had its own philosophers, had its own thinkers. Yeah? Why the African thinker? The Chinese we are admiring today, they have got great thinkers. You can't develop a country without education. You can't develop society without education.
So what would be your take on this debate that currently goes on in terms of academic qualifications towards political leadership?
Look, for me, academic qualification in terms of leadership, they don't mean much. You don't need degrees and so forth to be a leader. Yes, education helps you to understand things in a certain way, but it doesn't make you a leader. It doesn't make you a leader.
What does it take?
What it takes is the attitude towards society and the understanding, the knowledge of that society. You can't lead what you don't know. Look, a leader leads, but in the end, the people govern. You have to understand the society in which you're operating. You have to understand the people to lead them.
Having been in the political movement for a long time, I want to see how we can apply the virtues of your manifesto into today's problems in Zambia. Dr. Membe, it is very evident that we are highly indebted as a country at the moment. The figures we're getting, obviously, I'll use $20 billion when I compound both the local, and, the foreign debt. We're in a mindset where we feel that as a people, we have no capacity to do anything for ourselves unless we get help from the outside world. For now, China in the lead. What is the Socialist Party's approach, towards this? I mean, some of the people you call comrades, I mean, they went through embargoes, the likes of, Fidel Castro in Venezuela, and Hugo Chavez and so on. Are we in danger as a country, as a continent, to China and its debt, to the Western world and its debt?
First, how did we get ourselves into this debt? This debt was written off. Under President Mwanawasa, we had a debt write-off. We started the clear. President Rupia Banda left the balance sheet a bit better. He didn't get into debt. We have just gotten into this debt very, very quickly. How did we get into it?
In the last 9 years.
Yes, when we were voicing against this over-borrowing, what were the response of our leaders? They said they will continue borrowing, no matter what we say. Are they saying the same thing today? No. Yes, whoever takes over government next year has to deal with this debt. But look, this is a country, it's not a company. It's a country, it's not a company. Nobody will come and liquidate Zambia and share its assets. Nobody will put this country into liquidation. When you owe people and you can't pay, you've got difficulties paying, what do? You talk to them. Never run away from a person you owe money. Don't let a person you owe money pursue you. Pursue the person you owe money. If you owe somebody money, you should be knocking on their doors every day to tell them your problems. Eventually, they will understand you. A debt is either you have money to pay it. If you don't have money to pay it, it can't be paid. You have to renegotiate the terms. You have to seek debt write-offs. But also that will depend on what you are doing and what type of a person you are. What leadership do you have in your country? For the people who have lent you money, to listen to you, to talk to you, to trust you, you need a leadership that is doing something positive to be able to renegotiate your debts, to reschedule your debts. You need a credible leadership. If it's a reckless leadership that even if they reschedule, they write off, you're going to steal money, are they going to allow that? Are they going to agree with you? They won't give you the debt reliefs you may seek. If you show signs of credibility, they'll talk to you. Some of the debts can be written off. Some of the debts can be rescheduled. I would rather not pay the debt than have my people die for want of medicines. I would rather have medicine in the hospital than pay the debt. I would rather have kids go to school, go to college, go to university than pay the debt. I would do everything possible to renegotiate those debts and keep these services running. Because if people die, what's the use of paying the debt when people die?
But we still need to pay the debt back.
Yes, but you can talk to the people you owe money. You can talk to the people you owe money.
But just
and also look, this debt, how did it arise? Yes, there was reckless borrowing on our part, but also there was reckless lending on the other side.
So the lenders shouldn't have given us the money.
There's a due diligence you do. Even a bank, you can't just walk into the bank and get whatever money you want. The bank will do a due diligence. Was that done? People were lending us money. So it's not only our leaders who were reckless in borrowing. The lenders also were reckless, and they have to take some responsibility for that as well.
You've studied the geopolitics of the world, and I know that you attend these conferences and so on. Is it true that China has an agenda over Africa?
Every country has an agenda with another country. We are a community of countries, we are a community of nations. No country can develop on its own. No country, not even the USA or China itself. Every country needs other countries to develop. No country can solve all its problems by itself. China needs other countries. The US needs other countries. We need other countries. We need to invest in our engagement with other countries. To benefit from the world, we have to know the world. To benefit from our neighbors, we have to know our neighbors. We need to know DRC, we need to know Angola, we need to know Namibia, we need to know Botswana, we need to know Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Malawi, Tanzania. We need to understand what is it that we can do with our neighbors? What is it that we can get from our neighbors? In short, what can we get from the world? How do we get it? China is there, the Chinese Communist Party is there to develop China under very difficult circumstances. They are building socialism with Chinese characteristics under a world dominated by capitalism. How do they get to the capitalist markets? How do they get to the capitalist technology that is there, that has been created by the working class in the capitalist countries? It's not created by the capitalists, no, it's created by the working class. It's only the working class that can create wealth. How does the Chinese working class get access to that? How do they get to the global resources that are there? How do they get to the minerals that are in Zambia? So it's also our homework. How do we engage China? China is not there to run Zambia. China, the Chinese Communist Party is there to run China.
So back to the issue of equity. I know that you've broken it down, first of all, domestically with the quasi and coups. But how do we get onto the global scale with equity? Let me justify my question by saying, for a long time, we know that Africa has been rich with natural and mineral resources that many countries are looking for to develop their country's infrastructure. Steel, copper, gold, and everything. How do we take ourselves to get that equity and respect on the international platform? Even the debt that we just spoke about. Probably the question would be, like you're asking, how do we find ourselves in such a debt, but yet so rich, natural resource and mineral resource-wise?
We go back. I'll take you back again to 1897, to our Angolan ancestors. Cecil Rhodes and his army wanted to take over the Chipeta area, occupied by the Ngoni, because they believed there was diamond there. There was gold there. They wanted to exploit that. Our people resisted that. They resisted that. They understood that they will not benefit. Look, they have been mining for almost 120 years. We have been mining for almost 120 years. We have been operating under a capitalist system by subjugation for 120 years. What have we benefited? How many millionaires, Zambian millionaires, have come out of mining? Tell me one Zambian millionaire from mining base metals, from mining copper. How? A Zambian with a skin like yours and mine. How many? None. None. When a foreign investor comes with his capital, he comes to make profit, isn't it? He will get about 80% of the profit he has made, isn't it? Maybe just leave you with 20%. So who is benefiting more? One who is getting 10% or 15% or 20%, or one who is getting 20%, 80%. There will be more development where that 80% is going, isn't it? Than where only 20% is remaining from little taxes that you pay and the few wages that they pay. It's very little. We can't develop, we'll continue to lag behind. Our ancestors understood that, the Ngoni ancestors understood that. They had created an economy of their own. They had 12,000 heads of cattle at the end of the war in 1898. That was a lot of wealth. They could have built themselves many schools, many hospitals, and other infrastructure needed for development on their own. And that economy was built in 62 years. The Ngonis came here in 1835. But in 62 years, they built an economy that was so huge. And they built a big army on their own. They were trading, yes, with others.
But in present day times, again, back to my question, how do we achieve equity on the global economic stage?
It's a struggle. We are fighting against colossal interests. Those who have benefited from the current order, they are fighting to preserve their interests. They want to maintain their dominance over others. If this world continues like this, there will be a crisis, a global crisis. Every year, the leading capitalist economies go to Davos for the World Economic Forum. You know that?
G20.
Yeah. What do they discuss in Davos? They discuss growing inequality in the world. They are concerned about the growing inequality in the world.
But is the agenda to reduce the gap or to grow it further?
It's threatening them. It's threatening them. They are no longer comfortable, even themselves. Look, you can't live in a world where this country is poor, that community is poor, that community is poor, this is living well. Even in a village, in this house they are feeding, in this house there is hunger. Can there be peace in that village? Can there be stability in that village? We are traveling in one vessel. This vessel, there's so much inequality in it. Some are traveling in luxurious cabins, some are in the hold. This vessel is likely to hit an iceberg. And all of us, even those who are traveling in luxurious cabins, will die, isn't it? When it sinks. And it's headed for that. So even those who are benefiting from the current order are wondering what should be done to curb this inequality, to reduce growing poverty in the world. Technology is creating so much wealth in the world today. But amidst that wealth, increasing wealth, there's also increasing poverty in the world.
Do you see...
Isn't that a contradiction?
Yes, it is. Do you see the fears that many speculate happening where a second recolonization of our economies happen due to this huge debt burden that Zambia and Africa has? China, through FOCAC, in the last couple of years, has pumped in excess of $120 billion in various projects across Africa. You've spoken about renegotiating these debts, extending them, but it still puts a chokehold over you as a country, as a continent.
There is no second colonization. There's a continuation of colonization. It never broke. We moved from classical colonialism to neocolonialism. It's still there. There's no break. There's no second colonization. We are still living in a world dominated by imperialism. China is not only investing in Africa. China is investing much more billions in the developed countries, the capitalist countries. What China is investing in Africa is very little compared to what it's investing in America. Who is the biggest lender to America?
China.
China. So,
honesty is another of your values in your document. Zambians expect people to be honest in their dealings with them. Yet you say they watch and applaud liars. Vote for lying and deceitful politicians. You are a politician yourself. Therefore, are you shooting, yourself in the foot with these words?
I'm not a politician.
I'm
a revolutionary.
You're a revolutionary.
Yes, there's a difference. A politician seeks a political career. I'm not seeking a political career.
What are you seeking?
I'm seeking revolutionary change in this country. I'm seeking revolutionary change in this country. Nothing short of that. That's our strategic objective.
Maybe let's dwell onto that. Expand for us when you say revolutionary change.
We are not coming to maintain...
So what is this change and what is the objective behind this revolutionary change? For the viewer to understand.
We are not here to maintain the status quo. It's not business as usual. If we win in next year's elections, this country within a very short time will not be...
You are not confident of winning?
Oh, look, we are confident, but we have to be realistic. It's a race. Okay. It's a competition. We don't know who is going to win. We can win, other people can win. That doesn't mean no one is not confident. But we have to be realistic. There will only be one winner. It may be us, it may be somebody else. But we are not there to maintain the status quo. It will not be business as usual. We are not coming to maintain the system that is there, which has exploited our people for over 400 years.
What system are you proposing to come and put into place?
We are changing everything, as stated in the manifesto. We are changing the system of education. We are changing health services. We are changing the economic system. We are literally changing everything.
Maybe I'll not talk so much about education and health, because probably most parties all preach about providing, free education from the lowest to the highest, universal health service.
Socialization of education is not just providing free education. Free education is not socialism alone. Socialization of education is different from a free education. We are not only making education free, we are socializing it.
Meaning?
The society will manage that. There will be interaction. There will be participation of people in education. We are not going to maintain the curriculum the way it is. That this curriculum is a curriculum for your continuous domination. You continue to be dominated. You produce cheap labor for the capitalist countries. That's not liberating education. We want education that will enable our people to run their lives, to make things for themselves. Look, we have got educated people. What have we made? What did we produce? What did we produce?
So you want to shift to one that adds value to production?
It's not just adding value, it's producing things. Adding value to what? Producing things. We don't produce even medicines. We have educated people, we have scientists who can't produce medicines. Our ancestors were producing medicines. We can't produce medicines. Those illiterates were producing medicines. We can't produce medicine.
You say you equally change the economic system. Run us through that.
We'll change the way mining is conducted. We'll change the way enterprises are run. There will be cooperatives running. We'll change. Our emphasis will be agriculture. Because without agriculture, you are going nowhere. Look, mining is not creating jobs. You can bring in as many foreign investors into mining, to open mines today. You will not create the jobs that used to be there before. The technology has changed. One excavator wipes out 2,000-3,000 jobs in a mine. You can bring in as many investors as you want in the banking sector. The jobs you used to have in the banks, you never see them again. A small machine in the wall, an ATM, has wiped out all those jobs. A human being can't compete with an excavator. A human being can't compete with an ATM. An ATM doesn't go on maternity leave. An ATM doesn't attend funeral. It has got no relatives or friends who die. An ATM doesn't go to church on Saturday or Sunday. An ATM has no study leave. It has got no qualifications to improve. But the banking halls are empty. You go into the commercial firms today, a huge firm, employment maybe just 5-10 people. We have digitalized tractors. We have satellite navigated tractors today. No human being driving it. Jobs gone. But we are still producing children. They are still college and university graduates. They are still high school graduates. Where are they going to work? Where are they going to work? If we don't use our heads, we will not be able to.
So where is this job creation through agriculture going to come from, according to your 2021-2026 plan?
Yes, it's not sending you to be a farmer. It's not saying everyone should be carrying a cambrid. I don't mean my brother Chishimba, no. I mean the whole. We don't want to turn you from a broadcaster into a peasant farmer, no. But you be connected to peasant farming. Look, today we have Eastern Province producing cotton, producing sunflower, producing groundnuts, producing tobacco, producing maize, producing some rice, some cattle, but they are enduring poverty levels of 70%. How? How? What work can they do more to earn a living, to live better? Why is Eastern Province poor?
Maybe as a rider,
with all that hard work going on. Let me answer you first. Why is Eastern Province so poor? Let's just look at cotton. How is cotton grown in Eastern Province? The generic companies, which are international companies from Lusaka, go to Eastern Province with inputs, fertilizer, seed, pesticides. They give them to the peasants. Not at a price negotiated by the two parties, but at a price determined by the transitional corporations. And usually it's at the highest possible price. And they don't give those inputs to them in their villages. They give them at some centers. They have to hire canters, ox-pulled carts, use a bicycle to transport them to their villages. They plow the land, which is their own land. It's not owned by the general companies. It's owned by themselves. They plow that land, plant the seed, apply the fertilizers, do the weeding. Time to harvest, they harvest. And harvesting cotton is not an easy thing. Cotton has got thorns, like roses, but small ones. They wake up early in the morning. When it's cold, they are hit by the cold. They are carrying the katundu behind. You know you have to be putting behind. The wind starts to blow. You're approaching midday, it's hot. By the time you finish harvesting, you are worn out. Then it is removing the seed, bagging the cotton, transporting it again to the centers. Then the ginnery companies come. They determine the price at which they are going to buy that cotton. No negotiation with the peasant farmer. And they buy it at the lowest possible price. Lowest possible price. They don't give them their own amount. They take out what they had given them for inputs. They remain with a change like this. That's what is keeping them in poverty. We have to break that. What industries are there in Eastern Province? We'll make sure that no ball of cotton leaves Eastern Province unprocessed. We can create factories there in Eastern Province to make cloth of all sorts. And those reams of cloth or rolls of cloth will not just be exported like that. We need to set up clothing factories all over the country. That will create jobs. Even simple crops like tomato. Today, market, you go to Soweto market, they're throwing tomatoes at 17 hours, 18 hours. Does it mean there are no people who want to eat tomato? Should tomato rot? We can easily create small factories that process tomato into juice, into jam, into soup, into paste. Some of it we consume locally, some of it we export. Jobs are being created of all sorts. So it's a huge project.
I was touching on your values. We've looked at obviously the aspect of honesty that you touch on. The other value that we started with, what was there was honesty. I want to touch on the aspect of humility.
Mm-hmm.
The socialist society that you seek to build is one of the humble, by the humble, for the humble. You say socialists turn to Christ for inspirations, but Zambians have learned that such words from politicians are just rhetoric. What do you mean?
Well, look, this manifesto is not a product of one person sitting in a room, sitting on a computer. We were in the communities. We have spent the last 3 years interacting with people, listening to people. What is it that they want? We simply synthesized the ideas that came from the people and pushing them back. Look, if you have no humility, how do you lead? If you think you are more superior to other people, how do you lead? It's not rhetoric. If a leader thinks should live better than everybody else, should have more money than everybody else by virtue of being a leader, can you lead? Can you lead? Can you get these people out of poverty if you are not with them? Why do you think Christ was born in a man where animals sleep? From a humble carpenter, and from a mother who described herself as a nobody. Look at his disciples, fishermen, poor fishermen. Look at his ending on the cross. Who was on the side? Bandits, thieves, humble people. From the beginning of his mission on this planet, on this earth, he was with the humble people, with the poor people. Why? There were rich people in Bethlehem. There were rich people in the whole of Nazareth who Christ could have associated with. But those are not what he came for. Our party is not formed for the elites. It's not formed for the rich. It is not there to save the rich. The rich can take care of themselves. It's formed for these humble people. And because we are a party of the humble, we have to be where the people are. We have to be with them.
Is this the reason why you do not affiliate yourselves to these alliances of other political parties?
What are the alliances for? Because you align to do something. What are the alliances for?
What do you understand them for?
No, I'm asking you. You brought it up. Tell me, what are the alliances for?
Well, to fight for revolutionary change like yourselves.
No, they are not revolutionary parties. They are not revolutionary
We've
parties.
heard Fourth Revolution Party.
No, what I hear is there's an alliance to win an election.
You don't subscribe to that?
Look, our strategic objective is not to win an election. It's not to win an election. It's to change society. Winning an election, you can win an election on your own. MMD won an election on its own. PF won an election on its own. Did we form a party? If we wanted to join other parties, why form a party? If we are comfortable with the party that existing, why form a party? It takes a lot of effort to form a party. Are you telling me these parties have no objectives? It's just a proliferation of parties that are just the same. If it's a proliferation of parties that are just the same, then we are different from them. This is not just any other party. We don't want to quarrel with them. We win an election, we want to carry out what is in this program. They are not open to that. We start fighting. Let them do their own thing. We are doing our own thing. If they want to win an election, let them go and mobilize. Let them go and mobilize. They will win. There was a pact in 2009 between the UPND and the PF, which broke. People were saying they needed to unite to defeat MMD. PF went into those elections alone and defeated MMD. We did not form this party to append it to another party. We could have joined the parties that are there if we wanted it to.
So if the objective is to change society, obviously it has to be done by you going through an election for you to implement these values.
Definitely. You cannot change society without taking control of the state. You need to control the state apparatus to change the society. But elections are not an end in themselves. Elections are not an end in themselves. They are not our strategic objective. The strategic objective is to change society. Elections are a means. Currently in this society, you can only take government, take control of government through elections. That's the only form of taking over power that is available to us. If there were other forms, we wouldn't waste our time with elections.
You say that your objectives are very different. When you look at how politics are going, globally in terms of taking charge of, governance, there's so much deal, brokering in terms of how these alliances and how people join together to campaign. You've heard for a long time that Zambians sometimes feel that the opposition are so fragmented, hence it's so difficult at a point where if the ruling party at that particular point in time is not doing well, that's why they stay long enough. How would you approach, this notion?
We have seen changes. Mm-hmm. The MMD was created, was registered as a party in December 1990. On the 1st of November, it was in government. About 9 months. They won the elections in 9 months. PF took about 10 years to get into power. We can even discount maybe to 2001 because it was just formed. It took them less than 10 years. They were in power. It's how you organize. Who changes society? It's the masses. If you are going to have a party that just exists on television, talking to Comrade Costa, and you expect the masses to be mobilized who don't even watch television, you won't. It will take you a longer time. But also we have seen alliances fail to win elections. There was an alliance in 2006 called UDA. It lost. That alliance came number 3. The first was MMD with Mwanawasa. Second was PF with Michael Sata. And then the UDA alliance, which was headed by Mr. Kainde, came number 3. So an alliance does not guarantee you winning power. Can actually reduce the possibility of you winning an election.
So your approach, like you're saying, seems to be different. You're not the type that always wants to appear on radio or television interviews. You're mobilizing on the grassroots. I want you to also just explain this tonight. I've seen reactions on when you do some of these public engagements with rallies and your people clad in these socialist parties. Some carry placards of solidarity with people, Venezuela or Cuba. So some feel you're not alive to the issues of the Zambian people. How in touch are you with what is happening in the grassroots?
I think I've spent the last 3 years on the ground. My office is in Garden Compound. It's not in Kabulonga or Rodspark. It's in Garden Compound. That's where I am every day. And I established my office there when there was cholera. There was an outbreak of cholera when I went into Garden. We are there. We are with the masses every day. We are with the masses every day with ordinary people. How many times have you met me?
Right.
Yeah. So if I'm not with you, then who am I with? I'm with the people. That's why you don't see me on your television sessions. I'm busy. Are you going to follow me in the compounds? No, you are not. Those are not the people who make news. You are going to follow me if I'm at Pamosi Hotel, Intercontinental Hotel, then you'll follow me. When I'm in the compound with the people, you won't come.
What are the people saying to you as you interact with them? And I'm also told that apart from your office being in Garden, you spend nights in very rural parts, villages of this country. Wherever the sun sets, you peak a tent and you start moving on the next day.
Yeah. That's where the people I'm serving are. I have to be with them. And the sum total of their feelings are in this manifesto. These are not our ideas, they are their ideas. These are not our aspirations, they are their aspirations.
So the people are telling you they need a revolutionary change.
The people need education, they need access to education. They have got problems with the health services, they have got problems with the food, they have got problems with the housing, they have got problems with sanitation, they have got problems with the roads. These are the things that we address. It's not about things you dream. It's about what the people are facing.
The basic necessities of life.
That's what makes life. That's what it defines as human beings.
And what message or hope are you giving to these people when they tell you they have problems?
I'm not a Messiah. I'm not a Messiah. There will only be one Messiah, which is Christ. I'm not a Messiah. On my own, there's nothing I can do. We need to work together with them. Only the people themselves can liberate themselves from the shackles that they are in today.
Talking about that, other people...
Leaders lead, the people govern.
So if you say leaders will lead and the people will govern, have the people begun to show as you mobilize the aspect of solidarity? Because I want to move to the last value you highlighted, solidarity. Because all people on this planet originate from the same source, you say, this solidarity is international. As such, you say international solidarity is not an act of charity, but an act of unity between allies fighting on different terrains towards the same objective.
Look, the Bible itself teaches us solidarity. I was hungry, you fed me. I was thirsty, you gave me water. I was naked, you clothed me. But where did I see you, Lord? Where did you see me? Where did I meet you? Those list of my brethren, you did this for, you did it to me. That's solidarity. That is solidarity. We are each other's keeper. On our own, we are incapable of solving our problems. We need to work together. We need each other. We need to care for each other. Your pain, I should feel it. Your hunger, even if I've just eaten, you are hungry, I should feel your hunger inside my own stomach for me to be able to do something. If I feel your pain inside my own body, it will move me to do something. Solidarity is a necessity. Even animals of the same type flock together. We need each other. None of us can exist on their own, can survive on their own. Both as small communities, as nations, and as the global community. We need each other.
Let's get to also revisit the aspect, and I just want you to amplify on something that you touched on, that we live in a capitalist-dominated and led, global economy. In contrasting, these values, socialism versus capitalism, you, through this manifesto, accuse, the capitalists of being based on individualism, greed, unbridled competition, and consumerism. Again, I ask, why blame a system that some may feel along the years, even people like yourself have benefited from?
What have we benefited? What have we benefited? If we have benefited from capitalism, Why this poverty?
I mean, thriving businesses is out of capitalism and not socialism.
No, look, the system, yes, it makes a person who is lucky.
Because
like
others may
a person,
argue.
let me speak, you have asked a question. It makes a person who is like me, had good education, live better. But what about the other one? It's individualism. There's water problem in my area. Instead of going to the whole community to solve the water problem, I simply look for money
And sink a borehole.
Because
others may ask tonight to say, Dr. Member, you say your office is in Garden, but you don't live there. You probably live in a plushy, upmarket area with a good house, driving the best cars. So it's all capitalism. It's all individual greed.
That's a society we have to fight against. Yeah? We are committing class suicide. We are in this not because we are poor. We are in this because solidarity necessitates that this is not the best society we can live in. I've got so many poor people around me. Yes, I can afford these things. I was lucky I had education that gave me a better job and so on. What about others? So those who are lucky should get everything to themselves.
So are you saying people
We should have the best
who are
education.
affluent must begin to have a guilty conscience?
Look, even if you say ignore guilty conscience, ignore everything about charity, the system is not sustainable. Why do you have so big walls, so tall walls? Yeah? Are you in peace today? The poverty that you want to run away from, you're hiding, will get you one day. We are all threatened by this inequality. That's why they go to Davos every year now to discuss the World Economic Forum, to discuss growing inequality in the world, growing poverty in the world, growing unemployment in the world, because they're threatening even the lives of those who are affluent, who are living well. The rich nations are under danger today. Look at how many people are drowning in the Mediterranean Sea, trying to go to Europe. Look at the stress that is causing. Look at just the insecurity that is in the world today, terrorism and so forth. What is breeding this is poverty, inequality in the world.
The manifesto further talks about social dimensions and the implications of the socialist program. You're talking about dignity for the working class, women's rights and equity, enhanced social security, and a better deal for children, recognition of senior citizens, rights of prisoners, the disabled. You can expand a little more again on this, because this we see in so many manifestos.
Well, it's not just in any manifesto. There is a difference. Show me a manifesto that is the same as this. Show me which manifesto and which is similar to this. We are not just talking about these things. Those are the consequences of inequality, injustice, and lack of peace in a society. In a society where there's justice, in a society where there's equity, in a society where there's solidarity, children will not be sleeping on the street. This is not the Zambia I grew up under. The Zambia I grew up under had no street children. There were no street children. These street children started to emerge about 1992, 1993, when we changed the whole system of running society. Initially, when the street children started to appear, everybody was worried. How can children be sleeping on the street? There were NGOs being formed, the churches were concerned, the government was concerned. Today, nobody's concerned, nobody's talking about the street children. And yet we are Christians. Do you think Christ would go to sleep if he found the way these children are sleeping on the street today? Christ would leave this and go and sleep. Is this a society that we want? Is this the best way to organize society? And these street children are not reducing, they are increasing every day. Poverty is not reducing, it's increasing every day. While a few of us are getting richer and richer every day. But poverty is increasing, it's not reducing. Hunger is not reducing despite the technological advancement in terms of food production. Hunger is increasing. Children are not going to school in a rich country. Children are not going to school. People are dying because they don't have
And
medicines.
these are the things that equity,
You go to
justice, and
yes,
peace
you go to the hospital. You don't have a job in the first place. You don't have an income. You go to the hospital, you're ill. You are given a prescription to go and buy medicine at a pharmacy. You don't have money. Where are you going to get that medicine? How are you going to buy it?
Is this not a problem more of systems than the non-availability? Because when you read about issues of honeybee and $17 million, you listen to issues of medical stores, DFID and all these things, you're very much aware. So it's not that we do not have the availability, but the poor systems.
Do you know that in America people die? The richest country in the world, people die because they don't have money to go and buy medicine. Do you know that? The richest country in the world has got serious poverty problems. The poverty that is in the USA is frightening in the richest country in the world. It's a system. Look at the poverty that is in some European countries. Rich European countries. People go to sleep without food. People are sleeping on the street. In the richest countries in the world. Children are not going to school.
So does this plan plug the holes in the systems?
Yeah, we have countries that have demonstrated that. The China you're talking about today, China wouldn't be what it is without investing heavily in socializing education, in socializing health services. China wouldn't be where it is today.
So does this plan follow the Chinese route?
No, we are not China. We are not China, we are not Cuba, we are not Vietnam, we are Zambia, with a total different history.
So this plan
is Zambian.
Is Zambian-centric.
You can't get a blueprint. There's nobody with a blueprint of how socialism can be built in Zambia. We have a different history. We have a different culture. We have different people. We have different circumstances.
For the sake of time, since 2011, the PF have boasted of a robust, infrastructure development, program that is unprecedented in this country. That's what they claim is their record. They talk about the 7th National Development Plan and obviously link Zambia and so on. Touching your manifesto again, you talk about a 10-year People's Infrastructure Development, program you're calling PIDP, that you say will mobilize the Zambian masses to participate in their building of their own 21st century state-of-the-art infrastructure. Mm-hmm. What is this all about?
Look, let me just take you to China. You have Chinese company building roads here. Who built the roads in China? China became liberated in 1949. It was a poor third world country, poor peasant country in 1949, poor. The Chinese Socialist Revolution invested heavily in education, invested heavily in health services, invested heavily in feeding its own people. They have got the biggest population on the planet. They had to feed them. They are able to develop today. They are able to make anything, even copy anything, because they have got highly educated people. They have got highly educated people. They are making things. They are able to engage the world beneficially because they are educated. You can't engage the world if you are not highly educated, if you don't have a highly educated population. How are we engaging the world? What are we getting from the world? If you are able to create an educational system that enables you to engage the world, you'll be able to address some of your problems much easier. China is making a lot of things today in the world. Within the next few years, China will be the biggest economy in the world. They are building socialism, yes, in a world dominated by capitalism. Socialism is not a permanent state. It's a transitional phase. A transition means you have got one leg in the past, one leg in the future, the body in the present. When you are in such a situation, it means you have to take compromises. And the compromises are dangerous and are delicate. You need a lot of knowledge to be able to benefit from compromises. If your knowledge is low, you cannot benefit from the compromises. Look, take for instance Panadol. Every medicine is a compromise. You can take 2 Panadols, they don't kill you. Take 100 Panadols, they'll kill you. Isn't it? The same Panadol. You can take 5 Panadols, they can affect you. Another person can take 6 Panadols, they're okay. Because the body is different. So, we cannot be China. We cannot be any other country. We are a different body. But the system that we are trying to build is a system that is being built on the threshold of capitalism, with all its vices.
So you want to root out capitalism completely?
Even the Pope tells you the greatest enemy of the Catholic Church today is the capitalist system. It's degrading human life. That's the pontiff. I'm a Catholic.
Let's touch on an issue which is quite timely and thorny. Climate change, but also our energy sources to drive the wheels of the economy. Really, we are at crossroads. Your proposal is that through ZESCO, you want to build a renewable energy division that will make optimal use of solar, wind, thermal, and biomass, in addition to hydro energy, to support the creation of publicly owned, locally accountable energy companies and cooperatives to rival ZESCO and existing private energy suppliers, with at least one in each region. How can this work? I mean, currently, if you see the battles that are ongoing, ZESCO, Cobalt Energy Corporation, tariffs being increased to say, let's create an attractive sector, but load shedding is the order of the day. There's no re-injection into all these things that you talk about. How would you approach that in this plan of yours for the energy sector?
The problems going on are created by themselves. We are not part of those problems. The Zambian masses are not part of those problems. Are you part of the problems going on at ZESCO with the CEC? You are not part of it. You know who is part of the problem. So we are not part of that problem, and we are not going to be part of that problem. We need more energy sources. We need more participation of our people in creating the energy that we need. And we cannot depend on one source. You are depending on hydropower. What about if some rivers start drying up? You are stuck. We will use every source that is possible.
So, I mean, why should this plan of yours, you're talking about a 50-year energy infrastructure plan, but the Zambians need solutions now, and every politician keeps singing this song, especially on the dawn of an election. Why should we be trusting the Socialist Party?
That's why we are where we are, because we don't think on a very much longer horizon base. China is planning a society of 300 years ahead. 300 years ahead. Most of the European countries that we talk about are planning in not less than 50 years. Not less than 50 years. Most of them, they are looking at what they will be in 100 years. You want to look at 12 months. So you want to focus on hand to mouth all the time. Can you develop?
The PF have put in a 2064 plan.
What are they doing about it? What are they doing about it? How are they actualizing it? How are they aligning that? Look, the future is not built in the future. The future is built on the threshold of what we do today. By the decisions we are taking today, we are building the future. The actions we take today, we are building the future. The future is not built in the future. It's built on the threshold of what you do today. And you just don't walk like under primitive communalism. You go and walk in the bush, you land on mushrooms, you land on this. No. Modern human beings, modern societies have to be planned.
Let us conclude by talking about governance in our country. It's become, a big topic coming to Tuesday. Obviously, issues of Bill 10, the elephant in the room. Let President Chiluba said the post, again I refer, was the reason. I quote him, ipsissima verba. The post is the reason why he could not secure a third term. What will it take to curtail Bill 10 from becoming law, as the majority of Zambians have rejected this bill?
Firstly, it was not the post that stopped Mr. Chiluba from getting a third term. There were many people who were involved. The Law Association, the NGO, CC, civil society in general, the churches, the mother bodies. Society rose. Even members of cabinet, Chiluba's own cabinet, they refused. You know that many of them resigned. A mass, including the vice president, General Tembo, resigned. They left government. So it was not the post that stopped Mr. Chiluba having a third term. There were many players. Society did not accept it.
Does Zambia at this moment need a similar post to stop Bill 10?
It's not the post. It needs a society that should stop what is not desirable. It needs you and many others. It needs me and many others. Me and you alone cannot stop it.
What is the socialist position on Bill 10?
It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Look, any constitutional process should be a product of maximum consensus. Even us, even if we won the elections next year with the 2/3 majority, it's not acceptable for us to go and just start writing a constitution ignoring the views of others, the concerns of others. No. Constitutions are not made like that. You need maximum consensus on constitution. It's not about having a majority in parliament, no. It's an abuse of that majority if you want to go that way. It's not a party it's not a party product. It's not a party document. It's a national document.
One of the things I took note of is you say in this document that it will take time and great effort to make Zambia prosperous. Even then, we will still have to observe the principle of diligence and frugality. Just how long do you suppose it will take for Zambia to get back on her feet? When do you think we can make Zambia great again?
It will depend on how hard we work. It will depend on the resources we put together, the human capital that we create, the human capital that we are able to mobilize, and of course we cannot ignore the international conditions under which we operate. It's a struggle. A struggle sometimes no one knows when you triumph. It's a big effort that is required. It's not an easy thing. Don't be cheated. The problems are big. They require a lot of effort. But with effort, everything is possible.
Attacks on news media. We started with this already. 10 years freedom are proliferating. Violence against independent journalists. Attempts by government to assert control over media outlets, even if it means shutting them down, are order of the day. How, if we had socialists in government, would you reverse these injustices against media, civil society, abuse on human rights?
We believe in ideas. If you try to kill ideas, you are killing society. We need more voices to be heard. When ideas are discussed freely, they are cleansed of their weaknesses, they are cleansed of their vices, they become better. Look, today we are putting so much pressure on you, the few television stations, the few radio stations, or the few newspapers that are there, because there's no discourse elsewhere. We used to have press clubs in this country. There was the Kitwe Press Club, there was Ndola Press Club, there was Lusaka Press Club, there was the Press Club in Livingstone. They were vibrant. This manifesto, I wouldn't need to come to you to discuss it with you. You would be following me at a press club, maybe at the Lusaka Press Club, to cover me. But today, I have to come here. And the people started to wonder, how did I get here? Did I pay, or did you invite me? Fortunately, you invited me on your own. I didn't have to pay to come to this program. But the pressure that is put on the media now, because discourse is being killed everywhere. The violence that you see is not only about the media. It's violence against anybody who wants to voice their thoughts. In the Bible, according to John, the first verse, it's about the Word. In the beginning, there was the Word. And through the Word, everything was created. If you kill the Word, if you don't want that Word to be heard, you are killing society. You are killing society.
As I conclude, back to my words, nobody can take away from you Fred members. Some call you Sir Fred, some call you King Fred, with the influence and the contribution towards governance, democracy, and the media with the Post newspaper's hat off. If the people of Zambia had to give you a chance to be their leader in 2021, what kind of a leader would they be expecting? What kind of a leader would you be promising them? I have not worked with you. Some say that Fred is arrogant, he's vindictive, he's a schemer. He doesn't espouse these virtues of humbleness that you're talking about in this, manifesto. What type of a leader would you be for the Zambian people?
First, it's not about me. All the good things you attributed to me, they are not about me. On my own, I'm nothing. I would have not been able to achieve anything on my own. The glory sometimes is not shared fairly. The rewards are not shared fairly. There are many humble people I've worked with in my life who have made it possible to do certain things I'm said to have done. They're the peasants I grew up with who brought me up. They're the working class families that have brought me up. There are many people who assisted me along the way who made it possible for me to be able to acquire some knowledge, to have the ability to do certain things, and to be able to work with others to achieve certain things. The Socialist Party is not my party. It's not my party. I don't own a party like other parties that are owned by individuals. I don't own the Socialist Party. I'm a member of the Socialist Party. And I didn't join the Socialist Party to lead it. Between me and you, it took about a year, 4 months to convince me to take up a leadership position in the party. I did not seek to lead the party. It's something that has been thrust on me, and eventually I had to accept the responsibility as a member of the party. Could I have not done it forever? But it's not about me. This party is bigger than me. Zambia is bigger than me. I'm simply a small element. Sometimes, we elevate individuals too high. I'm not a king. I'm not all those things you're saying. I make a small, humble contribution. On its own, it's not enough to do anything to change this society. I told you I'm not a messiah of Zambia. I'm a frail human being with all the weaknesses of a human being. All that can be achieved is out of collective leadership and out of the collective wisdom of all of us. We are not looking for a single genius called Fred or anything. We are looking for a collective genius. On my own, I do not possess the knowledge that is required. On my own, I do not possess the energies that are required to transform this society. But as a part of a collective, I can do something. And I'm doing something as a part of the collective called the Socialist Party. It's a collective. And the leadership is collective.
So this for you is a fight for humanity, for justice and equity and peace for the masses, and not a fight of vindictiveness or a fight against settling any scores.
What scores do I have with anybody? What scores? What scores do I have with anybody? And who are those who I have scores with? Look, you burn so much energies being bitter with individuals. Today I'm bitter with you, and I'm not sleeping because I'm bitter with you. Tomorrow I wake up, you are dead. What is the use of that energy I've burnt? President Nyerere made a very interesting example. Tanzania mobilized to overthrow Idi Amin. Tanzania at the time was not the Tanzania of today. They were dependent on Saiso. So the income was very low. But he mobilized his army to go and overthrow Idi Amin, which meant burning all the resources Tanzania had. When they were approaching Kampala, Idi Amin just went to the central bank, took all the money, jumped on the plane and went to Saudi Arabia. So Nyerere asked, what was all that effort to chase this one individual? Was there no better way to deal with it? Bitterness consumes you. It doesn't benefit you. And who are you bitter against? Society? Or that little monster who did something wrong to you? These individuals are also products of society.
Dr. Fred Membe, it's been a pleasure hosting and talking to you this evening and going through this document, your manifesto of the Socialist Party 2021 to 2026, titled Justice, Equity and Peace. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
That's Costa for tonight. My guest, Dr. Fred Membe, talking the Socialist Party manifesto. Remember to catch a repeat episode of this particular show. The link on our Facebook page at Diamond TV Zambia. Good night and God bless.